A major decision may be days away, yet no one knows.
The U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities.
The Middle East holds its breath, watching Washington and Tehran. Warships move quietly, war rooms stay lit through the night. One US carrier now sits closer to danger than many Americans realize, and a single order from one man could change everything. Now we are diving into a question once unthinkable. Could Iran and its allies actually threaten or even disable a US aircraft carrier? Not in theory, not in some distant future, but in this unfolding crisis right now. To answer that, we need to separate hype from reality, because behind the headlines about drone swarms and massive armadas, there is a hard military and political calculation on both sides. Let's start with what we know, not what we fear. The United States is openly weighing targeted strikes against Iran, focused on key military and possibly nuclear-related assets. This is not speculation from random social media posts. It is being discussed by US officials, signaled through deployments, and reported by serious outlets that track defense posture. Israel and several Arab governments have quietly shifted to higher alert levels, anticipating that any US move could trigger retaliation across the region, not just inside Iran. Everyone understands one thing very clearly. If this goes wrong, it may escalate faster than politicians can control. At the center of this standoff is one symbol, a US carrier strike group, specifically the USS Abraham Lincoln and her escorts. This is not a simple ship-in-the-area story. The Lincoln is a nuclear-powered Nimitz-class carrier, built to sustain intense flight operations for long periods. On its deck sit F/A-18 Super Hornets, and in some configurations, F-35 stealth fighters, alongside electronic warfare aircraft, early warning planes and tankers. Below deck are hangars, workshops, command centers, and the machinery that keeps this floating airbase running around the clock. In pure conventional terms, this ship can project more firepower than the air forces of many countries, but the Lincoln never sails alone. Around her move Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, each packed with sensors and interceptors. These ships carry the Aegis combat system, a networked radar and weapons suite designed to detect threats at long range and engage them before they get close. Their vertical launch cells hold long-range standard missiles, medium-range interceptors, and other defensive weapons. Together, the group forms a layered shield in the air, on the surface, and underwater. For decades, this combination of offensive punch and layered defense led many analysts to treat carriers as practically untouchable. Iran has spent years trying to prove that assumption wrong. Instead of trying to match US technology ship for ship or jet for jet, Tehran chose another path: asymmetric warfare. That means cheaper weapons used in larger numbers, aimed at the weak spots of a stronger opponent. The backbone of this approach today is drones and cruise missiles. Not one or two, it's hundreds or possibly more. Launched from land, from small boats, from hidden sites, and through allied groups across the region. Iranian officials and commanders from proxy forces have openly stated that US carriers would be high-priority targets in any major confrontation. This is where drone swarms come in. A single drone, even a large one, is not likely to sink a US carrier. The ship is massive, compartmentalized, and heavily protected. But dozens or hundreds of drones arriving at once from multiple directions pose a different kind of problem. Naval defenses have to detect each threat, classify it, decide how to respond, and then allocate a weapon. Every interceptor missile fired is one less in the ship's magazine. Every second that passes is one more step closer to the hull or the flight deck. The intention behind a swarm is not elegance, it is an overload. We've already seen a preview of this concept in the Red Sea. The Houthi movement in Yemen, backed and trained by Iran, has used drones and missiles to threaten and damage commercial shipping lanes that the global economy depends on. Some of their systems are rudimentary, others more advanced, but the pattern is consistent. Low-cost weapons fired in salvos, forcing expensive ships to either absorb hits or expend significant resources on defense. If this is what a proxy can do, the question naturally follows: what could Iran itself attempt against a high-value naval target? To understand how real that danger is, we need to look more closely at the layered defense around a carrier. At long distances, Aegis destroyers use their powerful radars to track incoming objects and guide standard missiles to intercept them in the air. Systems like SM-2, SM-3 and SM-6 are designed to hit aircraft, cruise missiles, and even some ballistic threats before they reach the fleet. Closer in, other missiles, such as the evolved Sea Sparrow, add another layer of defense against fast maneuvering targets. These weapons are highly capable, but each launch cell can only hold a finite number of missiles, and reloads at sea are complex and time-consuming. Within a shorter range, the group relies more on electronic warfare and decoys. Ships can jam guidance signals, spoof GPS, and create false targets to draw drones and missiles away. Some systems fire flares or chaff to confuse seekers. Others deploy inflatable or towable decoys that mimic the radar profile of a larger vessel. The goal is to make sure that even if something gets past the outer ring, it hits the wrong thing or misses entirely. But again, these measures demand coordination, timing, and constant situational awareness under extreme pressure. Then there is the last-ditch option, close-in weapon systems like Phalanx. These are radar-guided guns that spin up and spit out a cloud of metal in seconds, trying to shred incoming threats just before impact. They are incredibly fast, but they are not magic. They can only cover limited arcs. They can become overwhelmed if too many threats arrive at once. They are, by definition, the "we tried everything else" line of defense. Carrier-based aircraft further expand the defensive envelope. Fighters can intercept launch platforms long before missiles and drones are in range. Electronic attack jets can jam radars, blind sensors, or hit critical nodes inside Iran's air defense and command networks. This is one reason the Pentagon still invests heavily in carrier air wings. A carrier is not just a target, it is also a moving airbase that can fight back before threats ever appear on ship radars. That said, aircraft sorties are limited by fuel, pilot endurance, maintenance, and the risks of operating near hostile territory. So, could a drone swarm actually sink the USS Abraham Lincoln? The honest answer is this. It would be very difficult, but not impossible, to cause serious damage. Sinking a carrier completely is a huge task. However, disabling flight operations, starting major fires on the deck, or damaging key systems is far more achievable if enough weapons get through. Modern naval warfare is often about mission kills rather than dramatic sinkings. A ship that can't launch jets is, in many ways, already neutralized. While all eyes focus on the carrier, the United States is quietly reinforcing another set of land-based shields. Patriot missile batteries and THAAD systems have been deployed or put on higher readiness at bases across the region. Patriot is designed to defend against aircraft, drones, and some short-range ballistic or cruise missiles. THAAD is designed to intercept high-altitude ballistic threats in their terminal phase. Together they protect airfields, ports, command centers, and allied cities that Iran might target in response to any US strike. This matters because Iran's playbook is not limited to the sea. If attacked, Tehran can respond through missiles, drones, cyber operations, and proxy groups from Lebanon to Yemen. The US, however, is not tied to regional bases or carriers to deliver heavy blows. It retains the option to strike directly from the continental United States using B-2 Spirit stealth bombers. These aircraft can take off from American soil, fly intercontinental distances, penetrate defended airspace, and drop precision-guided munitions on high-value targets deep inside Iran. In 2025, US strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities showed that Washington is willing to take direct action against Tehran's most sensitive sites when it believes red lines have been crossed. The exact details of that operation remain partly classified, but the message was clear. Distance does not equal safety. This creates a severe dilemma for Iran's leadership. If the US conducts a new round of strikes, Tehran will feel compelled to respond in some way to preserve credibility at home and among its allies. Yet a response that is too strong or too visible could trigger an even larger American escalation, potentially targeting key military and economic infrastructure across the country. A response that is too weak, on the other hand, could undermine Iran's deterrence posture and encourage further pressure. Somewhere between those two extremes lies the space for drone and missile attacks, proxy strikes, and calibrated escalation. For Washington, the calculus is not simple either. Some officials argue that failing to punish Iranian actions will invite further aggression. At the same time, many allies fear that a large-scale confrontation could spiral into regional war, disrupt energy markets, and drag America into another open-ended conflict. Public opinion, shaped by memories of Iraq, Afghanistan, and earlier tensions with Iran, is wary of another major war in the Middle East, even while supporting strong deterrence. This brings us back to that single, uncomfortable phrase: everything may depend on one man's decision. In practice, there are many voices at the table: generals, intelligence chiefs, diplomats, and allies. But in the US system, the final order to strike or hold comes from the president. That decision could be made, delayed, modified, or reversed at the last moment. The military moves now underway are designed to give the White House options. They also send unmistakable signals to Tehran. Both sides are watching the other, trying to read intent through deployments, exercises, statements, and leaks. So what happens if the order goes through? One realistic scenario looks like this. US forces launch precision strikes against selected Iranian targets, likely radars, missile sites, drone facilities, or command nodes, using a mix of carrier aircraft, regional assets, and possibly stealth bombers. Iran responds with a combination of missile and drone attacks against US bases and allied infrastructure. It possibly attempts to hit naval assets in the region, including the carrier strike group, either directly or through proxies like the Houthis. The US then has to decide whether to treat that response as contained or to escalate further. In a matter of hours, the region could move from a tense standoff to a rolling series of exchanges. Another scenario is quieter on the surface, but just as dangerous over time. The US continues to maneuver forces and threaten action without actually pulling the trigger. Iran and its allies keep testing boundaries through drone launches, harassment in the maritime domain, and cyber probes. Each side believes it is enforcing deterrence. Each side believes it is sending a message. But the longer the tension lasts, the higher the risk that a misread signal, a rogue commander, or a technical error triggers a clash that neither capital explicitly ordered. In both scenarios, the USS Abraham Lincoln occupies a unique position. It is a military asset, a symbol of US resolve, and a potential lightning rod. Its presence may deter Iran from certain actions. At the same time, it tempts Iranian planners who see an opportunity to test their doctrine against the most visible representation of American power at sea. The carrier's crew trains for this reality every day, drilling on damage control, air defense, and rapid response. They are not sailing under any illusions about the stakes. The tools on the battlefield have changed in ways that make this crisis feel different from past confrontations. Drone swarms, precision missiles, advanced cyber operations, and stealth bombers give both sides more ways to hurt each other quickly and from long range. The old belief that a big grey ship was safe because of its size and power no longer holds in the same way. A carrier remains formidable, but it is no longer beyond challenge. Right now, the region sits in that narrow space between deterrence and disaster. US leaders are trying to signal strength without losing control of the ladder of escalation. Iranian leaders are trying to show that they will not be intimidated, while knowing full well how devastating a full-scale US campaign could be. The Abraham Lincoln and its escorts steam on, watched by satellites, drones, and analysts on every side. Somewhere, planners run simulations of drone swarms, missile salvos, and layered defenses, calculating probabilities most of us will never see. In the end, the question is not just whether Iran can threaten a US carrier. It clearly can under the right conditions, with the right mass of weapons. The deeper question is whether anyone is willing to gamble that theory in the real world, knowing how easily a test could turn into a tragedy. A US strike on Iran might happen this weekend, or next month, or not at all. But the forces are in place, the doctrines are written, and the weapons are ready. As long as this standoff continues, one miscalculation is all it would take to turn the USS Abraham Lincoln from a symbol of power into the center of the most dangerous naval crisis of our time. That's for now. Subscribe for more updates.